What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Blerd Out. We are off of break week. One Piece 1158 has dropped. It's a hype chapter, like a really hype chapter, one that's amazing to come off break to. So we're gonna talk about that. We're also gonna do a little bit of seasonal talk. We got some updates here and there, some fun stuff to talk about. As a heads up, I am starting a TikTok for this podcast channel. So if you search for Blerd Out Podcast, there should be a TikTok channel for that. And don't forget, I also have my Tyrant King Kuma TikTok. Check that out as well. Cool stuff there. Link will be in the description below. As always, if you have not caught up to latest chapters or episodes, please note there will be spoilers ahead.
Spoilers.
Okay, so starting off with the chapter, 1158 Rocks versus Harald. Already a banger title. And we have a very interesting cover story. In a sea of what kind of seemed like mundane things happening within the cover, we get something that's kind of crazy. So the reveal of the shrine, the shrine that we were visiting from the pirate from West Blue, based on the translation I have here, the name of that pirate is Kozuki Moria. And the caption is, "Here lies the pirate of justice." So a few things to unpack here, because when you hear Moria, obviously you think of Gecko Moria. And some of the pieces line up. Gecko Moria is from West Blue, and that's where this pirate is said to be from. And if you think about some of the pieces to the puzzle here, we know that Gecko Moria and Kaido clashed in Ringo of Wano. So he's been here before. He stole Ryuma, he stole Shushui. So Moria has some ties to Wano for sure. And this seems to deepen those ties. I think one of the interesting things that we get from the cover is that this grave is of a hero who was born in West Blue and brought up in Ringo. Now, Ringo is the same place that Moria and Kaido fought when they clashed. So it's entirely possible that whatever clash happened here, the reason Moria was in Ringo specifically was because of family ties he had here. Now, based on Moria's age, he's about 50, it's very possible that he could be a descendant of the Kozuki clan. He could be a descendant of someone in Wano. It's interesting that, so the name of the altar is Kozuki Moria. Now, Gecko also has the same kanji as moonlight. Kozuki also means moonlight. So both of those terms are interchangeable there. In fact, I believe if you switch one of them around, it means the other thing. I think Kozuki means what, light moon, and then Gecko's moonlight, and if you switch them around, they basically become the same thing. It could be the other way around, but I do believe Gecko is the one that means moonlight, and then Kozuki is like light of the moon. So some very interesting ties there. And it could mean more to Moria's character if we have some ties here to Wano. Now, the other interesting thing, and honestly, I just thought about this not too long ago, Moria is currently, or at least the last time we saw him, he was at Beehive, Bullet Island, Hard Island. So under Blackbeard's control. If Blackbeard, say, wanted Pluton, which is in Wano, we could have a connection. Not to say that Moria is like deeply in the know of Wano, but the fact that when Moria was here, he clashed with Kaido, he knew of Shushui and Ryuma, so like he has some knowledge of Wano. Maybe it's like the bare minimum considering how famous Ryuma is, but he has knowledge of Wano. So it's very interesting, very interesting. I want to see where this is going. Now I'm a bit more invested in the cover story with this reveal. But let's move into the chapter. We start off on the Oro Jackson. We got Roger pouting to the side here, and all the Roger pirates cheering because they figured out where Shaki is. They're like, all right, she's on Pirate Island, so all we have to do is go there and we can see her. We thought we'd never see her again. And it's like all the Roger pirates are cheering. Meanwhile, Roger's pouting, and then you have Rayleigh in the back kind of just quiet, and then Gabon's in the back quiet too. So he pulls up to Rayleigh and he's like, yo, what's going on here? You and Roger have been real quiet. And he said that they basically spoke alone in their quarters some time ago, and they've been quiet ever since. Well, what happened was Rayleigh told Roger that Shaki left a note for him. And it was basically a note saying that she wants him to come get her. Like, I want you to make me yours type deal. And Roger's obviously like, are you kidding me, man? You get Shocky? Because obviously Roger's, and I mean, everyone's been pining for Shocky for the longest. So Roger's sitting here like, man, how did you get lucky? And Rayleigh's like, I don't dislike the idea. I just don't want to be tied down. And we know that Rayleigh is a ladies' man of sorts. So this makes sense. And like after a bit of deliberation, Roger gets a second one and is like, all right, I'm still going for it. So they set a plan to charge Beehive. They're going to Pirate Island to get Shocky. And as they're on their way there, we cut over to Maryjoy. And we have Garling up talking to the Gorosei. And they're talking about the human hunting competition, the one similar to what they had on God Valley. The one before the one on God Valley just ended, and Garling is talking about basically setting up a new one at a new place. And he says that while they were working on assignment, they stopped at an island that has apparently a unique culture, and it's got some unexpected treasures there, like outrageous discoveries. There's some crazy stuff at this place called God Valley. So Garling's like, the next time we do our hunt, we gotta do it at God Valley. And we clearly don't get like any indication of what could be at God Valley. It's adding to the idea. I think initially we were trying to build something that like maybe Shocky was one of the things they were fighting for. And while it still could be possible, it seems like there's a lot of things piling up at God Valley. Because we know for one, they had the fruits there. You know, they had the mythical zone that Kaido has, they had Kuma's fruit there. So they had those as prizes. There seems to be another treasure, and even if Shocky's going to be there too, there seems to be another treasure outside of that we've yet to be informed of. And I think this outrageous find, this unexpected treasure, is what Rox was going here for. Because Rox isn't drooling over Shocky anymore. They mentioned later on in the chapter that he's got something going on, seems like it's with a woman, and it's not Shocky, so he seems to be distracted from that. So if that's the case, if Shocky was held captive here, I don't think he would be as gung-ho about getting here. So whatever else is here, it's big, and it's world-changing. And that's why Rox is after it. We do cut back to Shocky's bar, and she's obviously talking trash to all the people here, and they love it because it's Shocky. And this is when she has that conversation with Rox where it's like, you know, I kind of miss that the grin isn't for me anymore. It's obviously for someone else. And Big Mom's like, oh, see, women's intuition, something's going on here. And like he's hiding it. I think this is obviously Rox falling in love with someone and possibly getting ready to have a kid. I think that timeline does match up for this to be around the time when Blackbeard is born. And we even get like Stussy saying it has to be a woman. The guy's grinning like he's expecting a kid. So I think this is basically the setup for Blackbeard being born. And as they're talking about that, in comes Roger. He just bursts through their front door, got the Roger Pirates with him, minus Rayleigh. And immediately him and Rox are like button heads. Rox is like, bro, this is my island. What are you doing here? And Roger's like, nah, we can't fight in here. It's just Shocky's bar. It's prohibited. So what ends up happening is like Roger came through, cleared out the line. So everyone that was waiting outside to get in, he just mopped. There's just a heap outside. And then they just pulled in. Whitebeard ends up noticing everything, and he actually walks out, which is interesting. Because Whitebeard has this air of camaraderie where, you know, he loves being around people that he considers family. So the fact that, you know, all these people showed up and he walks out is like, he doesn't really consider this a family. This is a partnership. So Shocky pulls up to Roger looking for Rayleigh, and Roger's like, I told him to come, but he stayed on the ship. And she's pretty much disappointed in that. In the meantime, Glorioso jumps in, trying to get Roger to show some affection. He still doesn't care. And it's crazy. Like, Glorioso is so put to the side, it's not even funny. Even when she's like trying to hold Roger's face, Roger's just looking over at Shocky, and he's just mad upset. But eventually they all just start drinking, and even Roger's like, hey, where'd Newgate go? I want to drink with him. I want to drink with Whitebeard. And he already left, but they still drink anyway. This is a really cool, really interesting dynamic, because you have some of the craziest pirates all in one area just vibing. Because you gotta think about it, you got Big Mom here, you got Roger here, you got Rox here. You have both the pirate empresses here. I mean, I imagine Kaido's in here somewhere, Shiki. Like, you have the biggest names in pirating in an entire generation, all just chilling in one place. And they're getting along. And this is something I really like about like One Piece and just the characterization in general, is that, yeah, they're pirates and they're technically enemies, but at the same time, like, they're such free-spirited people that they don't mind chilling with their enemies sometimes. To the point where they're all chilling at a bar, just having a good time, not even worried about anything. And the fact that they're all here means that, I don't think they're gonna happen anyway, but the Navy would never step foot in this place. So they're literally just free here. Which is essentially what Rox wanted it to be. He wanted it to be a free haven of violence and piratism. And that's what he got. It looks like we get a panel of what I would imagine is Rayleigh being sake over on the Oro Jackson, because like as far as we know, he's the only one that stayed behind, and they do a zoom out of the Oro Jackson because we see the giant egg and we see someone singing in the background, and as he's singing, Shaki passes out. And this is probably the indicator of like the love sickness, where clearly she's hung up on Rayleigh. No one else is gonna do. And then we break into some narration where we get the breakdown, like we knew Shaki didn't have any. We get the breakdown of like we knew Shaki didn't allow fighting within the bar. So they start narrating, talking about what happens when they're back on sea. And we get this really nice panel of Rox and Roger. Basically, their heads are back to back and they no longer jolly fun times. And then we skip some time and we end up back in Elbaf. And we end up in the underworld, the realm of the dead. And we have Loki like hanging onto a tree. And initially I thought that he was like trying to break it off and throw it at someone. But as you read further into it, you realize that what's happening is Harald and Rox are clashing. And the clash is so intense that it's like breaking up the landscape around them. So like Loki was trying to hang on because he wanted to watch the fight. He's getting blasted away. Animals are running wild. You got Hydruden here too. I think he's holding on to like a boulder trying to see things. And they're just going at it. And to my surprise, because if you remember what I said last review, is that essentially I don't think Harald would try to kill someone just to become part of the government. Here we have them clashing and Rox is like, bro, really? You're gonna try and kill me to get in good affair with the government? And he's laying into him because he's like, basically you're bowing down, you're submitting your power to them just so they can use you. And what this is like, so at this point, I would say that everything that's happened in Elbaf, all of Elbaf's misfortune, comes from King Harald's rule. I think we have enough information to say that, because this man is so naive. When you look at it from like, look at his kids, for example. Look at Hydruden and Loki. The only reason Hydruden doesn't end up growing up like Loki does is because Hydruden has Ida. If he didn't have his mom there, I think he would be in a very similar boat as far as like just not having any kind of role model to grow up with, because Harald wasn't there for him. And keep in mind, he was out trying to make peace, which is understandable, but he basically left these boys behind to figure out the world on their own. And they're both having a hard time doing it. But for a major example, the way Loki is thoroughly through the way Harald treated him, where Harald was gone and he left him with his mom, and his mom was out here shooting threes with him. And like whenever he comes back to visit them, he doesn't really check in on them. Like when he came back and like Loki was in bandages and just messed up, he was just like, oh man, that sucks. And then he just went on about his business. Like, your son has an entire head bandaged and they're telling you that there's an issue with his eyes. And he was just like, oh man, you hate to see it. And then you go on to his deals with the government, and he keeps trying to get in good favor with the government despite seeing all the crappy things that they do. And he's even getting in his own way, like he sneaks into the reverie, which puts a target on his back immediately. He attacked a government affiliated ship, which got propaganda spread out about him. And I mean, the entire race of giants already has a negative reputation. And I understand what he's trying to do is remodel how that reputation is viewed upon. but he's not doing a good job. Like, sure, he's making friends with other nations. I understand that. But that doesn't change your perception of the entirety of a race. You even have some of the panels that they go through as Harald and Rox are fighting where they're talking about, well, Harald, you seem like a really nice guy, but this country was attacked by giants before, and we just can't really get past that fear. Just because there's nice ones doesn't mean, the mean ones won't come back. And what he's doing is he's trying to talk to these people and like encourage them that he's cool and all. He still does things that are inherently like violent. I sneaking into Maryjoy. Like, I don't know that that's a great idea, especially if you weren't invited, if you're not affiliated with the government. You really shouldn't be doing that. If your goal is to get in good with the government, then why would you sneak in like that? Like, that's just a bad choice, because he has questions that he needs answers to, and I understand his curiosity, but he's actively going against what he's trying to do. And then here you have him finding Rox, and it's like you want to join the government so bad that you're going to try and kill someone, regardless of Rox, and his affiliation, regardless of if he's being chaotic or neutral or good. You're trying to kill someone else just so these people will let you into their club. Like, do you not see how you're being used and manipulated to do the thing you don't want to do? You're trying to encourage peace and prosperity, and they said, okay, in order for you to do that, we want you to enact in violence. And what's crazy is that he said okay to that. He accepted those terms and has tried here to fight Rox. Now, it doesn't seem like they went completely all out. Like, they clashed, they argued, they got their words out, and they eventually like went their separate ways without really finishing the fight. And I think this was more of like a clash of ideals than anything, where I honestly think Rox is really hurt by this. Like, for who Rox is supposed to be, as far as like one of the most sinister pirates, I feel like he really cared about Harald and considered him a close friend. So the fact that Harald came up, tried to kill him, and just won't listen to what Rox is trying to say, even if he doesn't join Rox is still making points where like, you're being used, you're being manipulated. And Harald just has it in his mind like, the only way we can achieve peace and prosperity is if we join the world government. And he won't change his opinion on that. So with that being said, Rox is like, all right, we're done here. I'm not coming back. We're never going to work again. And so they break off on those uncertain terms. And apparently they don't see each other again until a certain incident, which I'm imagining is going to be God Valley, because that should be the end of Rox. It does make me wonder if Rox was at God Valley, because for the longest time, we've been wondering how Rox and the Rox Pirates lose when they have such a stacked up team. Because I mean, you have Garp and you have Roger and you have like the Roger Pirates. I don't think that's enough to take on all of Rox, being real honest. So if you add Harald to that mix, where Harald fights with Garp and Roger, that makes a lot more sense as to how Rox would end up being killed. Cut forward a little bit more, and we have Loki sitting out in the sea, and he's reading about Rox in the news. To which Ida says, basically, he's not coming back. Like, Rox definitely isn't coming back here. That whole friendship is gone. And Loki tells Ida to shut up, to which she only replies with, hey, you want some juice? And as a kid, he's like, oh yeah, I do want some juice. Just a really cute interaction. Again, I really like Ida as a character. I feel like every interaction she has is just so wholesome, so sweet. And then we cut to 39 years ago in the West Blue God Valley. So another connection between Moria and West Blue and Wano and everything like that. God Valley is also in West Blue. So West Blue is becoming a lot more prominent as of these latest chapters. But here in God Valley, we have the birth of twins. And they've got cute red hair. And it seems like Oda's intentionally going out of his way to not really give names to anything. Because like, he doesn't name the mom. And even when she's interacting with others, she refers to them as Mr. So like, we don't get any indications of names here. The only thing we are told is that these are twins, they have red hair, and that she's named them Shanks and Shamrock. So we have the birth of Shanks and Shamrock here. These are obviously Garland's kids, so this is obviously one of the things Garland did when he was over here in God Valley. And this adds yet another piece to the puzzle. Because initially we were like, okay, so God Valley, what's at God Valley? We started with Devil Fruits. We add Shocky. And then we add some unknown discovery. So we've got those big things lining up so far. Now we have Shanks and Shamrock. And we know that Shanks ends up on Roger's crew. It would stand to believe that this might be the time in which Shanks ends up with Roger. If God Valley happens the way I think it happens, Roger probably picked up this kid and left with him. And maybe not even picked up, it could just be a coincidence that Shanks ended up on Roger's ship. It doesn't even have to be like a conscious effort. You know, he could have like fallen in a barrel and got picked up. There could be a lot of reasons why Shanks ends up on Roger's ship, but this is probably the time where it happens. Because we know that basically Shanks was on Roger's ship for a while as a kid. And we even have that little tidbit of Roger and Rayleigh talking about Odin's kids, where he's like, man, I haven't held a baby in, quite some time. And I think that is supposed to indicate to Shanks. But we have the twins born here, so we are clearly getting like lore within lore within lore within lore of this backstory. Which is just insane. Because when you think about it, when you go all the way back, this is supposed to be Loki telling Heidrun how Harald got killed and how he's related to that. And somehow we've reached all the way to Shanks's backstory. It's been an insane flashback. And it's still going on. We still got more to go. But that is where the chapter ends. And I thought this was quite a fantastic chapter. Just the sheer amount of like lore drops is enough to kind of satiate us. Like if we were going on a break after this, we would have a lot to talk about. A lot. I mean, we still do, but so much came out of this chapter. From the cover story to the ending, the whole thing was just packed full of goodies. And it's only going to get crazier from here. You got to think about that. We could possibly get the full God Valley flashback. We could see everything that happens at God Valley, which I think to some degree we might have to. Because of how involved Rox is in this flashback, we have to see how his journey ends. And there would be no real reason to cut away from this and do Rox later on. So it has to be somewhere in here where we learn about what happened to Rox, even what happened with like Kaido and Big Mom, Whitebeard. We should get an insight on a lot of these characters from this flashback alone. So buckle up, get ready, y'all. We going in it. But yeah, that's a chapter, fantastic chapter. Let's hit these seasonals for a little bit and then get out of here. I still have not started Dandadan. Still have not started. And like of all the seasonals that I think I haven't started but need to, this is probably at the top of the list. This is the most like mainstream one, and luckily I haven't been spoiled on anything. Like I don't think I've seen anything outside of like the new OP and ED. So I'm still pretty blind as far as if I want to go in and just binge it, I should be fine. And I might try and do that before the season ends, because I would like to catch up at some point. I just haven't made time. Dress Up Darling, I haven't caught up to that. I'm probably about 5 episodes into that. Like I started watching it midway through the season to catch up. And as much as I like Dress Up Darling, it's one of the reserve ones. Like there are some anime that when I get time, I'll go to those first. And then if I run out of those, I go to the reserves, and that's where like Dress Up Darling is. The anime that has been keeping my attention the most is Fragrant Flower. That's my jam right there. Like I routinely find that I'm just a sucker for a good romance anime. And this one's doing it for me. This one's really good. I like it. I wouldn't say it cracks the top of the romance anime list, because I still got Dangers in My Heart, I still got Kaguya-sama, and I still got Snafu on the throne. I don't think it reaches those heights quite yet. It may shock me, but it's still really, really good. I've been watching a lot of Gachiakuda, And man, that's really good anime. Like that's probably outside of Flower. I think that's the one I'm watching the most. Like I think I'm fully caught up on the episodes for that. Having a good time, liking the story, liking the art design and everything. It's solid action. Kaiju number 8, that's also on the list with Dandadan. In the similar vein, I haven't been spoiled on that either, so I'm kind of like taking it easy with that. I'm probably gonna have to binge both of those before the season ends, because I really like the first season of Kaiju number 8, so the second season is probably popping off. The summer Hikaru died, I watched the first episode and I'm intrigued, but it hasn't pushed itself into my list yet. Like that's not even on the reserve list. I still want to watch it. It's just I don't reach for it when I go for an anime, I guess. It's the best way I can describe it. Honestly, the ones I'm watching the most are probably going to be Cleavitus. I think that one's probably the one I watch the most outside of Flower is Cleavitus. And that one's been really hype. There's also like The Water Magician. I enjoy that. Scooped Up by an S rank. I enjoy that. Those are more casual ones, the really simple ones. I want to get more into Secrets of the Silent Witch. I really like the first episode and I want to bump that up to not a reserve, but like one of the mainstays. I want that to be in the main rotation. I've added Apocalypse Bringer in there, got a little bit here and there. I'm probably 4 or 5 episodes into that. That one's another one of the casuals, we vibing with that. I know I started New Saga. I think I stopped at episode 2. Not to say it was bad or anything, but it's one of the casuals and it's one of the lesser casuals. So like it's probably going to be something that I'll have to go back to if I really get some free time. I haven't watched more of Detectives these days, and I really liked that first episode. I thought it was really funny. So that's another one that's like a casual but not on my reserve list. I want to bump that back up because that was a good time. I enjoyed watching that. And then there are 2 that I, despite having this already long list, that I want to get into, which is Togen Anki and what's the other one? Outcast's Restaurant. I want to check out those 2 and see what those are talking about. And man, oh man, I forgot. I want to watch Grand Blue as well because I love the first season. I want to watch the second season. So that's also on the list of trying to get that in rotation. I'm so behind. I might dedicate a day just to watching a bunch of the seasonals. I honestly might. Like just not have anything planned, just a sit at home day and just watch through some anime. Which sounds like a good time, honestly. But I think that's where I'm at with seasonals so far. Like I said, Flower is still my top of this season, and I don't think it's gonna get bested. It's hard to best a good romance. It's really hard. I think if anything's come up in second place, it's probably gonna be Cleavitus, but that's got some space in between. I think Fragrant Flower stretches and miles ahead of the competition. That's gonna do it for me. Let me know how you feel about the chapter. Let me know if you guys are watching these seasonals, if anything's cool, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.